Man, you are just laying me up with the segues here.
Let's
So
go.
you talked about the transition of working BT Sport, WWE, to working for WWE. And so let's go back to earlier this year,
Oh, yeah.
Montreal Elimination Chamber, to break the fourth wall a little bit. 2 weeks prior to the event, you and me are talking. And we're both like watching SmackDown. I'm obviously, working the shift. We're both watching SmackDown and we're like, man, we got to figure out a way to be there.
Yeah.
Right. And so I do my thing. I'm trying to like, hey, can we get, some budget? Can I get out there? I think it's a big deal. You're obviously, working your magic. We both end up being there, but in completely different capacities. I'm there working for BT Sport. You're working there for WWE. Here's what I want to ask. Given what happened and given your involvement in the event and everything, what did you think of the reaction from the pro wrestling media, especially because some of those are friends of yours, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Some of them know you really, really well. You have history with a lot of these people going way back, ex-colleagues and what have you. What was your thoughts on how they kind of reviewed and reacted to your participation there?
I was, to be honest, a little bit surprised and in some respects a little bit disappointed. I felt like they were projecting their own situations and values onto me. I have never claimed that I was a pro wrestling journalist. I have never wanted to be a pro wrestling journalist. I have never openly said that I wanted to be a pro wrestling journalist. And just because I interview pro wrestlers, and I do think that I am practicing journalism when I'm interviewing them, I'm not a day-to-day guy. I'm not a beat guy. I am not reviewing SmackDown and Raw and Dynamite and all this stuff. I don't really even hardly watch them on a week-to-week basis. I follow the accounts. I check some stuff out on YouTube and all that stuff. I'm not doing, shows. I'm not hosting shows. I'm not doing podcasts. None of that. And so, I think that they were almost confusing, A, their situations to mine, B, me as the MMA guy and me in the wrestling world. And making this into a much bigger deal than it was, and referencing like, oh, you've tweeted out things like, man, I could count on one hand the amount of times that I've tweeted something out, and that's just me like, asking someone in PR. That's hardly journalism, okay? And the Saudi thing that I refuted, it had already been refuted by the time I tweeted, and I was just curious, like, oh, are you guys being sold by Saudi? No, cool. I'm going to tweet that. Awesome, thank you. That's not really journalism. You know what I mean? And I don't think that doing that should have any type of negative impact or reflection on me, the MMA guy, me, the boxing guy, me, this guy, that guy. And to me, why I did that, if you're wondering, is twofold. Number one, I had been talking to them about doing some like one-off stuff here and there. And when they approached me about doing the Extreme Rules VO, that was the the DC appearance with Riddle and Rollins. I did it, and I was like, I'm not getting paid. I don't want. I was just so, and it wasn't because wrestling journalism, this and that. I just had this rule in my mind, like you cannot get paid by any promotion, right? Like you cannot, because of what happened with the UFC and Fox. Even when I did, just to tell you like where my mind was when I did the Jake Paul stuff. And initially, like 100%, it was through a recommendation by MVP. I was like, I'm not doing any of this if MVP is paying. I cannot do it. MVP did not pay me. It was Showtime. When I did the face-to-face for Serrano and Taylor, I was like, I don't have any relationship with DAZN, but I need to be paid by DAZN. So it doesn't matter what. So I had the same mindset. Then the thing aired. I did it. I didn't get paid. Thing aired, and they even told me like, you're crazy, why aren't you getting paid for it? But like, I just wanted to keep it very clean. Thing aired, I was like, man, the feeling that I had seeing my name and hearing my voice on WWE Pro, it was like the little kid in me came out. I was like, this is so much fun. And it kind of opened my brain an idea to like, what if I did do this? Life is so short. Why don't I just go out and scratch this itch and see if it's fun, if it's something completely different than what I do. So I said to myself, if an opportunity came about, the next time around, I would consider it. And then they reached out about Montreal. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. It's my hometown. It's Sami Zayn. It's the arena that I went to a million times. Like, I would be an idiot. I could die tomorrow. And I'm going to turn down for what? Because of some dudes in wrestling media who are going to think, I couldn't give if you think less of me now, God bless. If you aren't a fan of me now, God bless. If you don't want to watch my MMA or boxing or real sports or anything else because I appeared on SmackDown and Elimination Chamber and I got paid by WWE, God bless. It's fine. I don't care anymore. I really don't. I am who I am, and I'm just going to do my thing, and I'm going to do things that are going to make me happy. You don't call me like people are like, you're not a real journalist. Because I'm a real Ariel Helwani. That's who I am. All right. And that's good enough for me. All right. So I'm not gonna take advice from people who I would never ask advice from. And yeah, that's it. I don't take it personally. Like anyone who criticized me, I don't want to say F you and I'm not gonna be your friend anymore. I'm not gonna say hi to you. I just wouldn't have gone about it the same exact way, but everyone has their own, path. Everyone has their own, decisions that they have to make. And, I would say to you here, like if they came back, I would be open to doing more. I had so much fun. It was amazing. Now, I don't want to be like, I don't want to let's throw it back to Ariel Helwani backstage at Raw. Like, I don't want to do something like that. Something different, something bigger, but I'm not against it. I had a lot of fun.
It's crazy because I think you and me are very similar, that we were pro wrestling fans first when we were kids, and then combat and other sports kind of came into the fold. Isn't it bizarre to think back to when you were a kid watching these larger than life personalities, during the 80s and the 90s, and now all of a sudden you're rubbing shoulders with them, you're backstage with them, you're interviewing them, Triple H, Undertaker, you're involved in that. Isn't that crazy?
Yo, it's like crazy is not even being fair. To me, being backstage was always like it was a bucket list thing. I was like, what happens back there? Right? Like you hear about Gorilla, you hear about this, that. And those 2 days, and especially being home and my dad's driving me to the arena, like all those emotions. I used to play with the LJN toys and I had a busted ring. And I remember like I had the box with all the toys. I had like 50 something toys. I had the ring with duct tape in the middle because it broke. I had all the guys and I would make cards. I would make matches. And my dad would tell me like, why are you watching this? I would have it on in the background. You're a smart boy. Why are you watching this nonsense? He would always get mad at me. And I just liked it. And that fandom spawned my interest into other combat sports, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, if you would have told me in 96, 97, 98, 99 that, Triple H and, Taker and all these people, like it doesn't, I feel like my whole life has just been one big, this doesn't make sense. That I win some sort of contest and I'm kind of a negative person. So I'm so afraid of it ending. And I'm so afraid of not appreciating it. And I'm so worried about it ending. And I'm so worried about like waking up and saying like, man, I had all this stuff and I screwed it up. Like I just don't want this to end. And I want to do more. And like, I can't wait for the next 10 years. I don't want them to go quickly because I don't want my daughter to be 16. I want her to stay 6 forever. But I feel like the next 10 years could be really, really fun because now a friend of mine actually texted me, John Beer. He's like, it's really cool to see you finally find your voice because he knew me as a friend and knew that on camera, like I was being professional, was worried so much about being professional. And now I just I'm the exact same guy. I'm the exact same person on camera, off camera. And that feels really great too. So yeah, all of it is just a dream.
You mentioned earlier on turning a negative into a positive. When Tony Khan is tweeting you mid-show, you respond and it just blows up social media. Take your own words, pop the boys in the back.
Yeah.
How did you even deal with that in the moment? And what did you think of the reaction that caused over that weekend?
So there's a great lesson there. Social media is a great thing and you're a part of it. And it's helped us out tremendously, the both of us and so many others. But someone once told me, like, when you're in the middle of a show, like, don't look at Twitter, don't focus on it, like, just be in the moment. And I actually, like, as I was going out and preparing for those things, I didn't look at my phone. I didn't even tweet that I was going to be on. Like, I just wanted to, like, let the moment live and let it happen. And I did one hit, and then there was another one coming in the second hour, and I briefly looked at my phone. And I saw his tweet. And so the lesson there is like, I shouldn't have looked at my phone. I should have just looked at that later. But I'm going to give myself the old Barry H. I was like, I'm not going to let this guy affect my moment. I'm not like going to let him ruin my moment. I'm not going to let him bring me down. I read it. I read it multiple times. I was like, there's no way. Like, did he just bury his own guy while trying to bury me? Like, the whole thing looked weird, right? And then I checked, is it him? Is it the fake verified him? Like, the whole thing just seemed like a big whiff. But I said, I'm going to go do this. I'm not going to let this, moment pass. So I didn't respond while I was there. And I also didn't want to respond like while I was there, because it's my first time ever doing something for them. Like, here I am going to start getting into a fight with Tony Khan backstage at a WWE event. Like, what a way to start. But people were coming up to me like, do you see Tony's tweet? Do you see Tony's tweet? I was like, yeah. And then there was a part of me that was like, man, maybe I don't respond. Like, maybe I just let this be. And then I get into the Uber on the way home to my wife's parents' house, my in-laws. And I'm sitting there and I'm feeling good about myself. And then the response just comes to me, and I'm like, I'm just going to respond. And then I see him respond back to that. And I'm like, I'm done. I don't really want to get into this. And then I come back the next day, and then people who I have never met and people who I know, people I see on TV and that very well, were coming up to me like, man, what a reply. Great job, man. And I was like, wow, I couldn't even believe that they knew or cared or anything like that. And I was like, man, thank you. Thank you for making me into like this hero. And then the GSP thing, he's there, and then they tell me go sit out with him, and they're going to do like the celebrity shot, and I'm like, me? Why do you want this? Is GSP. Like, I waited in line to go to a Champ Sports Bar on Saint Laurent Street to watch him fight Matt Hughes. I'm in the rafters when he's fighting, against Diaz and Condit and all these guys. He's a celebrity enough. No, you go out with him. All right. And, before the card starts, I see Michael Cole. He's about to go work, and he's like, just wait until you see how I introduce you. I was like, yeah, I'm sure he's going to say like friend of the company, whatever. And then the moment happens and we're going crazy. And then I think, were one of the first ones to text me about it. And then a bunch of other people text me about what Cole said. And then I was like, wow, this is nuts. Am I in the middle of some pro wrestling war right now? What is happening here? This is crazy. Again, one of those things that are crazy. Being there for that was nuts. And then the coolest part, honestly, was we did a thing at the presser, and I'm leaving, and I see Sammy. And then I just spent like 30 minutes with Sammy, his wife, and his wife's friend. And we just played like Montreal geography, like, oh, you know that person, or you've been to this restaurant. And I was like, this guy just had like the match of his life, right? In the moment of his life. And how the hell did I end up back here just talking about the city that we both love? Just the whole thing was very surreal. So yeah, I'm not going to let someone like Tony Khan ruin my moment, my mood, my dream, anything like that. I wish for his sake, he didn't do it, didn't affect me whatsoever. Could care less what he thinks about me. I think in a different lifetime, we probably are friends. We're both around the same age. We both love wrestling. We both love sports. It's a shame that, the relationship got off on the wrong foot. And it's a shame that he tweeted that. But honestly, if I saw it, it's the same thing I say about Dana or Ali or any of these guys. Like, if I saw Tony now, I would say, what's up, man? Let's bury the hatchet. Let's be pals. Do you want to come on the show? Do you want to hang out? Do you want to go for? I really believe in not holding grudges, and I really believe in not having enemies. And I know people think I have all these enemies, but I really don't. It's like, I only start it if they come to me. Like, that's the way I start talking. I never go out and seek it. So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna hold that grudge. I wish them the best. By the way, if you know anything, sorry for going long, but if you know anything about me as far as my MMA work, I'm the one who's always rooting for the second company, the third company. I'm the one who's trying to give Bellator a shine, PFL shine, and One shine, Cage Warrior, all these people, right? So why would I feel differently about pro wrestling? I think it's great for the boys in the back to have an alternative, for leverage, for money, for all that. It's the business. The WWE product is better when there's an alternative. So I'm not rooting for them to fail. In fact, I'm rooting for them to succeed. And last thing, people know, I have said publicly way nicer things about AEW's product than WWE's product over the last 2 years. In fact, I was on Simmons' show saying that I liked AEW better. I've talked to you about this, right? I think you could about that. I've enjoyed Dynamite more than SmackDown or Raw. So it's all nonsense.
Well, you answered my follow-up. You're open to letting bygones be bygones. And even though you didn't enjoy the first interview with Tony Khan, you're absolutely open to having another conversation with him, another interview with him, and piecing it out at some point down the road.
Absolutely.
Amazing.